This is Advisor 3.0, a show designed to help you as a financial advisor elevate your professional practice, transform your clients' lives, and take your business to the next level. I am Abraham Okusanya. Welcome to the show. Marketing for financial planners. It's not just about looking good online. Of course, that doesn't hurt. It's about winning trust, gaining trust, and winning business. And who's best to guide us through this than the go-to experts for financial advisors on all things marketing? Phil Bray of the Yardstick Agency. Phil, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. I'll take that. Thank you.
Phil, before we dive into what's going on with advisor marketing and AI and mistakes that advisors do and all that stuff, give us an insight to your background. How did you get into the business?
So like most people, I fell into financial services.
Yeah, and then you stayed.
It's like, what is it? You can check out, but you can't leave.
Yeah.
So I started way back in 1995 for a company called GAN, selling PEPs and pensions.
Okay, that was before my time.
Anybody who breathes PEPs and pensions. I did 8 months at J. Rothschild Assurance, which is now SJP.
Yeah.
My first boss there now works for Timeline. And there was an IFA until 2006. Started my own business in 2006 as a financial planner. That didn't work out quite so well. We acquired a couple of businesses. It was a period of time when we extended ourselves too far. We borrowed too much money to acquire these two businesses. And ultimately, the financial crisis put pay to that business. So I needed to reinvent myself. I'd always preferred, honestly, generating new business and generating leads and trying to build a business than necessarily the advice side. So I became head of marketing at a firm called Investment Sense, which is now run by my wife and her business partner, Bev, and then joined the Sense network in 2014 for a couple of years, head of marketing there. And then we started Yardstick 10th of January 2016.
Wow. So Yardstick is coming up to 10 years now.
Yeah, we're a couple of years off that, but yeah, coming up to that.
Okay, so talk to me about Yardstick as a business. Give us a picture of who you are, what you do, what does the team look like?
So we're a marketing agency that specializes in working with financial advisors and financial planners, as well as organizations that supply services to financial advisors and financial planners. Probably 80% of our clients are UK based, but we've got clients in the States, South Africa, Europe, Singapore, Hong Kong and Australia. So financial planning it transcends geography to a large degree. So we can work with organizations in different geographical areas. But it's financial advisors, financial planners, and support service providers. So that might be compliance consultants, power planners, investment houses, product providers, etc. But it's exclusively the financial services sector. A couple of ways of working with us. There is what we call the execution-only approach, should resonate with advisors. And that means firms come to us and say, can you do? Providing we agree with them that that's the right thing to do, because a bit like them, we won't work with insistent clients. It never ends well. They can pick and choose then from the different departments that we've got. So content, digital, social media, branding, etc. Or we can write a marketing strategy for their business, where we'll look at who their target market is, what they want to achieve, review their existing marketing, and then put a plan in place to help them get there, which they can then either implement using our services or implement themselves. So there's those two routes, and they're pretty analogous to what advisors do. And they're the two ways of working with us, execution only or more strategically.
All right, so let's talk about, you obviously work with a lot of firms. What are the mistakes? What are the issues that you come up again and again that are, barriers to, what advisors are trying to do with their marketing?
So this is a 40-minute podcast, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, right, okay. So what I would say is there's a few. Not thinking strategically is one of them, which is kind of ironic given their job and what they do for clients. And we tend to call that magpie marketing.
Okay.
Where there's a shiny thing over here, there's a shiny thing over here, and they go and try lots of different things. So for example, I was on a call this morning with a client who said, we need to be more active on social. Okay, why? Why do you need to be more active on social? And we challenged that and went through it and realized probably don't, given the marketing objectives. So looking at things strategically, I think is an issue. Underinvestment, marketing costs time, takes time, and that time costs money, either the firm's money or outsourcing. And we often see an underinvestment of time or money into marketing. Lack of patience. People often give up before they start seeing the results. If a client invested with a financial advisor and that client turned around 6 months later and said, I've had no return, the advisor would be preaching patience, long-term, etc. And that's what we need to train advisors on with marketing. Lack of social proof, showing the value of what they do rather than telling people about the value that they do. There's a whole load of those issues and challenges they face. And why wouldn't they? Because it's not their job. They're financial advisors, they're financial planners. So why would they understand it? But there are some of the challenges that we'd experience.
So I like how you're using languages that financial planners will understand. Lack of investment, lack of patience, that sort of thing. I like that. Okay, so let's talk about social proof. What is social proof? Why is it important? And how do you get it?
So social proof for me is the thoughts and words of others to show the value that, in this case, a financial advisor or a financial planner adds. It's important because if you read They Ask, You Answer by Marcus Sheridan, and there's other research into this, Marcus Sheridan talks about the fact that 70% of someone's buying decision is made before they meet, in his case, the salesperson. Here we'll talk about the advisor or the planner. And that means that we've got to impress, or financial advisors and planners have got to impress prospects on their digital journey to the advisor's door. So for example, if I'm out on a Friday night with a couple of friends and I'm thinking about taking advice, I've got a bunch of pensions, ISAs, maybe a few share save schemes, that sort of stuff. And I know I want to think about retirement, but I'm disorganized. I'm not particularly confident about whether I've got enough. Paul Armstrong was absolutely onto something when he talked about that. But I'm not confident I've got enough. I feel disorganized. I turn to one friend and say, who do you use for your pensions? And they give me the name of an advisor in the firm. Then I turn to the other and say, who do you use? And I get a different name in a different firm. So I'm now armed with 4 pieces of information, 2 names and 2 firms' names. Now, prior to Google, back 95 when I started in financial services, you were somewhat younger then, I would have probably waited till the Monday and I would have picked up the phone to one of the 2 advisors, and whoever answered first, I would have probably booked a meeting with. The level of due diligence was really quite low. Now though, I've got the weekend stretching out in front of me. I've got Google on my phone, my iPad, on my laptop, and I've got a load of information at my fingertips. So what am I going to do? I'm going to Google these advisors. I'm going to run what we call brand-based searches, searching for their name or the firm's name. And I've got the Google search results page, which is where I first meet the firm, and I've got the website where I start getting to know them. And all the way along, I'm mentally putting little ticks in boxes as to whether firm A or firm B is right for me. And this is where competition happens. Generally speaking, financial planners are not in competition at that first meeting stage, but they're in competition much earlier in the buying decision, and it's invisible. So most firms overlook it, and that's where social proof comes in. Someone Googles a firm, they see the Google reviews. Someone Googles the advisor, they see the vouched for reviews. They go onto the website, they see client testimonial videos. They see the advisors regularly mentioned and quoted in the press. They see awards, accreditations, that sort of stuff. And for me, social proof is broken down into two: client-driven social proof, so online ratings and reviews, client survey results, and client testimonial videos, and then advisor-driven social proof, which will be things like press mentions, awards, accreditations, that sort of stuff. But it's just, social proof is so important for impressing people on that digital journey to the advisor or planner's door. And because, as Marcus talked about, most of the buying decision is made before they even speak to the person. Long-winded answer to a short question.
No, thank you. I really like how you broke it down to the client-driven reviews, client-driven social proofs, and the advisor. So things like, as you said, articles. You put awards in that camp of the advisor-driven because it's the industry or their peers or some sort of trade journal. Advisors always have these conversations I hear about, is it even worth putting yourself up for an award and all these things. And I guess it's those tiny little cues that you give the prospect as they are searching or looking for you.
Yeah, it's absolutely little nudges in the direction of the advisor. It's, as I say, you've got those two examples of, it might be the prospect has asked their solicitor and their accountant for two different recommendations. Either way, the potential client is going to be looking at both firms. And they're looking at the social proof, but they're looking at other things. When I hit the firm's website, do I feel that I am at home? Do I feel that the firm works with people like me, is an expert in working with people like me? Do they empathise with my problem? Or do we see the same tired old, we do pensions, savings, investments, all that rubbish?
Yeah. Okay, so Google reviews, I think vouch for is, established amongst financial planners these days about as the way that they get their clients to review and give some sort of testimonials. But I don't think Google reviews are, is that an area that you suggest the firms should invest in?
100%. Google and vouch for reviews, to me, are equally as important. Okay. It's much easier to get reviews on vouched for than it is Google.
Right, yeah.
In our experience, for every one review on Google, you get between 5 and 10 on vouched for. But they each play slightly different roles. So from a Google perspective, when a potential client Googles the firm, those Google reviews will appear. So that first, on the Google search results page, that first hit, it's really seeing those reviews, you're already giving someone a dose of positivity right at that first interaction. Google reviews are also an SEO ranking factor in local search, and can clearly be used elsewhere in the marketing. You can embed them on websites, etc. But Google reviews are hard to get. You, for all practical purposes, need a Gmail account to do it. And not everybody's got a Gmail account. Plus, if your Gmail account is in your own name, your name is then appearing in public reviewing an advisor. Some people won't like that. So we always recommend that best practice, and we've tried lots of different ways of doing this. But we've found that best practice is to give clients options. So when you ask for the review, you give clients two options, Google and vouched for. Some will do one, some will do none, some will do both. But the Google reviews, as I say, SEO ranking factor, they appear when the firm is searched for. Vouched for appear when the individual advisor is searched for. So you're covering two bases there, and more people will do vouched for than do Google. So our view is that firms should use both platforms. You're not asking for two reviews, you're asking for a review and giving people choice.
Right. And are you targeting when and how you ask, or when you ask the client, or are you going to the your client bank in, I don't know, once in 6 months or one, as an event to say, hey, we're improving our website or whatever? Is there any science to when and how you ask for these reviews?
Yeah, absolutely. The two occasions to ask for reviews. We would suggest when firms start taking social proof seriously, that they run what we would call a booster project of emailing out all clients, explaining what you've just said. We're starting to improve the amount of social proof we've got. We use two platforms, please would you leave a review? Then we need to keep those topped up. And the best way of keeping them topped up is when a firm onboards a new client, or after an annual review meeting or a 6-monthly review meeting, the firm sends one email with 2 links, Google and Vouch for, and that email is wholly, exclusively and only about the review request. We've seen firms put the review request at the end of a 13-page suitability report. Yeah. I hate to break it to you, they're not getting past page 2. So you're not going to get one then. We've seen firms send the review request through their client portal. Doesn't work. Yeah. What works? After you've onboarded a client, after you've done an annual review meeting, 1 email, 2 links, wholly, exclusively and only about the reviews. And what you then see is the review count ticks up every month on Google and Vouched for. If it's not ticking up and it's static, it means one of 2 things is happening. Clients aren't happy. We know that's really unlikely. More likely, the process is not working. Yeah, the firm hasn't developed the right processes and habits to be collecting these reviews.
Advisor 3.0 is back. Financial planners, are you ready? One day, over 20 game-changing sessions. On May the 15th, 2025, London is the place to be if you want to shake up your skills and network with the very best. Oh, did I not mention? National Tim Peake is a headline speaker. Yeah, that Tim Peake. So get your tickets now at advisor3.0.co. Don't just stay in the game, lead it.
Let's talk about search. So how important these days is search, word search, how important is this to financial advisor marketing and lead generation?
It depends. Yeah. No binary answers. It depends. It depends what the firm wants to achieve. So once you've got the marketing foundations sorted, and when we're writing and building marketing strategies for planning firms, we always start with the marketing foundations.
What are the foundations? Sorry to interrupt.
No. So the foundations are things like making sure that you have the right data recording going on in the business, recording all new inquiries, making sure you're GDPR compliant, social proof, website, newsletters. They're just hygiene factors.
Right.
If I went to a financial planner to help me retire and I didn't have a will, power of attorney, emergency fund, the right protection, the financial planner would sort those first before helping me with my retirement planning. And those would be my financial foundations. So we help firms with their marketing foundations, first of all. And then we can start looking to drive the growth that they're looking to achieve. And for me, there's an order here. Upsells and cross-sells to existing clients. They're few and far between in the financial planning space, but they can be found, especially if the firm does mortgages, equity release, estate planning, that sort of stuff. But it's easier to do more with existing clients than it is find new clients. The second rung down the ladder is referrals and recommendations from existing clients. Now, most firms don't have a referral strategy in place, and they should do because they have got the lowest cost of acquisition and the highest conversion rate. Now, some firms, from a marketing perspective, once they've got the foundations fixed, and they've looked at upsells and cross-sell opportunities and start to maximize the referral strategy, some can stop. They don't necessarily need to go and do other forms of marketing. They might want to do them because they're passion projects, they love doing them. But to achieve their objectives, they don't need to. Other firms, though, have then got a gap between what they want to achieve and what they can achieve through referrals and recommendations and cross-sells. And at that point, they can start looking at other marketing tactics. And SEO and search may have a part to play.
Right. So the approach is start with what you have. Of course, you lay the foundation, right? And then you start with, upsells and cross-sells of existing clients, and then you move to referrals from existing clients. And again, referral, is there a science to how you ask for referrals, or is it just ask again at the right sort of time?
So for me, asking is the wrong thing to do. Yeah, I come from a 90s background where you were taught some pretty horrible things.
Yeah.
I get paid in two ways. Commission and referrals, or bring 2 books to the next meeting, your checkbook and your address book. Yeah, just crap like that. And I think asking is counterproductive personally, because it makes advisors feel uncomfortable, therefore they don't do it very well. And it puts the client on the spot, and nobody likes to be put on the spot. Yeah, so clients might then feel alienated. So for me, a referral strategy should focus on, it's a comprehensive strategy to focus on closing 2 gaps. Now, your first gap is the gap between the proportion of clients who say they will recommend you on and those who actually do. In our experience, about 95% of clients say they would recommend their advisor on. Only about 50% have done in the past 12 months. So that's your first gap. The second gap is the gap between the proportion of people who, when recommended to an advisor, actually get in touch with them. And our research shows only about 20% of those who are recommended to a planner ever get in touch with them. So we need to close those 2 gaps. And you close those 2 gaps, close the first gap, by putting a strategy in place that educates clients on who to recommend you to, how to do it, and when to do it, that shows appreciation when they do it, and continually communicates those 3 things on a regular basis. You close the second gap with what we talked about earlier, which is improving the digital journey to a planner's door.
The social proof. Yeah.
Exactly.
So upsells and cross-sells, referrals, and then where do you go next? Content, search, in that hierarchy of...
So it depends on who you're trying to target. And there is a long list of marketing tactics that you could put in place. Social media, professional connections, content, SEO, pay-per-click advertising, buying leads in, all these sorts of different things. And essentially what you need to be doing is matching tactics to target audiences, as well as the skill set and the budget of the firm. I would say that, to try and answer the question directly, the larger your lead requirement every month, so I'm thinking national firms, multi-advisor firms, the larger your lead requirement, the more likely you are to have SEO as part of your marketing strategy. And SEO is one of those things. I put a post up on LinkedIn a couple of weeks ago about things I've changed my mind on when it comes to marketing, because you can't be fixed. And SEO is one I've partly changed my mind on. I think it has a role, I probably underestimated over the years the role it has for larger firms. For small firms, it is on a local level, but for large firms, it can be much greater than that. And of course, search isn't just Google these days. Yeah, people are going to AI models, ChatGPT, and putting searches in. We had a planner come to us a couple of weeks ago to say he'd had his first client who'd found him on ChatGPT. So search now, previously it was focused on Google, a little bit of Bing, but mainly focused on Google. Now it's much wider.
How is AI changing marketing for financial planners?
That's a good question. I think for me, there are opportunities and pitfalls from AI. So let's do the opportunities first. I think AI can massively help with content creation. There's 5 steps to creating content: ideation, what you're talking about, research, writing, editing, and proofing. AI can really help with the first 2 and the last 2. I still think if advisors are better getting a real person, either themselves or a ghostwriter, to actually write the content. But AI can massively help there. AI can also help with time saving. So for example, we talked a lot earlier about Google and vouched for reviews. One of the things advisors and planners should do when they get Google and vouched for reviews is reply to them, leave a reply online. And it needs to be more than "thank you, Abraham." Yeah, it needs to be a detailed reply. That can take time. So we've developed a custom GPT that writes replies to Google and vouched for reviews. 80% of the time, the reply that it writes can be used with no editing whatsoever. 20% it needs a bit of a polish. But it's a really good example of where AI can save a lot of time and do a better job than the human can probably do. And then AI can help with content repurposing. So for example, I'm playing around right now with some LinkedIn posts, putting them into Notebook LLM and turning them into a podcast.
Interesting.
Pitfalls, there's a few here. I think one of them is about authenticity.
Right.
So we talked about earlier about client testimonial videos. Yeah. It would be really quite easy right now to write a script out, give that to a video maker, AI video maker, and try and make it look like client testimonial videos. So there's some authenticity challenges there. How do we make sure that genuine client videos are seen as authentic compared to other stuff? You've clearly got a problem with some people taking what comes out of AI as gospel and not double checking. I think that's an issue. And then for me, the big issue is if AI makes it easier to produce content, then it's those people who know how to promote that content and get it in front of people that are going to do better. The world's about to get a whole lot noisier with AI and a whole load of mediocre content. Yeah, good content will really stand out, and those people who know how to promote good content will stand out even more. So I think there's pitfalls and there's opportunities.
Yeah, and this issue of, I think of this issue of authenticity as even deeper and broader than that. So for instance, when I write, I think I have a particular way of writing, and I have my styles and like foibles and all that stuff. And I like that to show in my writing, and I have tried, you take stuff that you write and you put it in, ChatGPT or whatever, and you say, refine or finesse this. And often the output are things I would read and I would say, no, I would never say that. So, and I feel that in this world, as you said, that we're going to get a lot of noise with AI, it's actually far more important to be authentic, and that doesn't, in my mind, doesn't just apply to writing. It applies to content creation. I've seen, example where this, AI can take stuff that you've written and repurpose it, but and the voice might sound like your voice. I mean, we're getting, but do we risk losing the authentic voice of the individual, especially for those who are serious about content? I don't know if you get my drift.
Yeah, I do. I don't think anybody argue about you having a unique style, and it's hard for AI to capture that as authentically as you, and it's no surprise because nobody can be you. AI is only ever going to get better, so there may come a point where I could write something using AI to sound like you do, but
it is crazy though. Like, I want to, did you see that? Sorry, I'm interrupting you. Did you see that there's a quote on LinkedIn by a lady, I can't remember her name now, but she says something along the lines of, I don't want AI to do the writing and the podcasting and the fun, creative stuff, and I'm doing the dishes and I want AI to do the dishes, and load up the washing machine. I want to write. I want to talk. I want to interact and engage with people. And this is where I'm struggling a little bit.
I agree completely. You don't want AI to take the fun stuff away. You absolutely don't. You enjoy content creation. I enjoy content creation. I tend to sit in a Nero of a Saturday morning and write my blog for the week. I enjoy doing it. There's something incredibly satisfying about starting with a blank sheet of paper and finishing 2 hours later with 1,000 words perfectly written. I think we need to accept that we might be in the minority there, and a lot of people don't find it quite so satisfying. But right now, you do lose some authenticity by pushing it out, which is why I think AI is particularly good to help you with the ideation and the research and the end bit of editing and proofing. I think it can also help with headlines as well.
Yes,
If you're writing a headline for a blog, and there's the famous David Ogilvy quote about, was it 80 cents, $80? When you've written your headline, you've spent that.
Yeah.
And AI can really help refine headlines and refine the opening line of a video maybe, or the headline of a blog. AI can help tremendously there. But as for writing it, I think you've still got the noble art of writing.
Yeah. Let's see how long it lasts in this world that we're all going into. You talked about underinvestment there. This is like asking Turkey to vote for Christmas, or the other way around of it. Is like, do you have a shorthand or a percentage of revenue or whatever metric that you would say a business that wants to grow, a formula, should be investing in marketing?
It's a good question. We've done some research on this, because if we tell firms that they should be investing X percentage in marketing, we clearly have a conflict of interest there. So on a couple of occasions, I wrote a blog about 4 years ago on this, and I've updated it since then by going out to marketing experts and saying, what percentage do you recommend firms spend on their marketing? And the answer tends to come back, it depends on what you want to achieve, but most of the numbers sort of are between that 5% and 10% of turnover. But I would much rather look at it the other way around. And this is why we spend so much time writing marketing strategies for clients. So let's have a look at what you want to achieve. Then let's have a look at, ideal world, how much does it cost to rebuild the marketing foundations and put the right tactics in place to achieve your objectives? Then let's price that up. And bottom line, how much is that costing? Either on internal resource, external resource, software, all that sort of stuff. And then firms know exactly what they need to spend and what they need to commit to achieve their objectives. And I think that's far better. It takes a bit longer to get there, but that's far better than an arbitrary 5 to 10%.
Right. And do we have a sense for what financial planning firms spend on marketing these days as a percentage of revenue, just what they do spend? And I guess it'll be interesting to see whether that correlates with growth in any shape or form. Is there any stats out there on this front?
I think most firms are below 5%.
Yeah.
Most firms are below 5%.
Yeah.
And they would spend a lot less.
And we wonder why there isn't growth. Carry on. Yeah.
But most firms would also spend less if they focused on referrals and recommendations.
Right.
So a referral recommendation strategy takes time, and they're not free referrals. If you're doing it properly, referrals are not free. But the cost of acquisition is much, much lower to get a new client than through other marketing tactics. So we've seen examples where firms are buying leads in, and the cost of acquiring a client, £2,000 to £3,000. It's a lot of money.
Yeah,
Now,
leads buying is a thorny subject I see with financial planners, and it costs money. People talk about lead quality, from this there's a particular one I'm thinking of. Where are you on that subject?
So, I call this direct marketing, direct response, that sort of stuff. And essentially what you're doing is paying an organization to generate leads for you. And that organization might be a directory, for example, Unbiased. Mm-hmm. It might be a paid lead gen provider. It might be Google Ads. And you're paying for the leads, or with Google Ads, you're paying for clicks, I suppose. And as soon as you stop paying those organizations, leads dry up. Mm. But you know what you're getting into. It's a fair trade. There's a relationship there. X is paid and Y is received in terms of leads. But whenever you buy leads in from whatever source, the cost of acquisition, the cost per lead, and the conversion rate is always worse, in my experience, than creating those leads and creating those inquiries yourself through marketing. But marketing takes longer. It's the tortoise approach compared to the hare of buying them in. And potentially there is a synergy between the two, where firms might buy leads in while they're waiting for their marketing activities to show a return. But marketing activities continue to show a return long term. As soon as you turn lead buying off, it stops overnight.
Unbiased versus vouch for as far as lead gen is concerned?
Oh, this is a good one. So right now they're completely different things. And this question goes back maybe 10, 12 years to when vouched for started. So vouched for, in my opinion, started as a direct competitor to Unbiased, all about lead gen. They then pivoted, that's a trendy word, isn't it?
Yeah.
Pivoted, yeah, to being a rating and review platform to help build trust in the profession. And for me now, 90% of its value, it's not a specific number, it's to show you what I mean, is in ratings and reviews. It will produce some inquiries on top of that. And advisors tell me the inquiries are good quality. But for me, Unbiased is lead generation. Vouched for is a ratings and review platform that may produce some leads. And we recommend vouched for irrespective of whether it produces leads. I don't really care when I'm recommending it whether it produces leads. I think its value is massive when it comes to showing the value of working with advisors, planners, mortgage brokers. So I think it was a valid question 12, 14 years ago. They're just totally different things now.
Pivoting is what we say in startup, early stage company life. For we can't crack the market, therefore we try to do something else, and vouch for's managed to do that. I mean, I did hear advisor grumble a bit about the bidding process for leads on vouch for. Some advisors, sorry, not vouch for, sorry, on Unbiased. Some advisors saying, the leads tend to go to the larger firms because they bid and, they bid higher, that sort of thing. Again, it goes to the point you've talked about, which is it is an expensive way to win client versus, the good old marketing.
Yeah, there are so many myths and misconceptions about Unbiased. And as far as I understand it, it's not possible to bid more for leads. There are grumbles about the way leads are distributed on Unbiased. But for me, advisors have got to be pragmatic. Look at it in the in the round and see over a period of time, 6 to 12 months, what is my return on investment? What's my conversion rate? What's my CAC, my client acquisition cost? What's the cost per lead? And just take a really pragmatic, data-driven approach to whether you continue with unbiased or not. And if you've got that data, you can make that decision. And I'm not sure a lot of firms have. One of the issues.
Sorry, Karen.
No, one of the issues we see with firms is that they don't actually have great data when it comes to marketing. They don't know how many inquiries they've had. Some of them don't even know how many clients they've taken on in the past year. And that's one of the things we really try and help them understand. How much they're spending over here on marketing and what's coming in as a result.
And yeah, CAC is not an acronym that where many of us in the financial planning world are familiar with. I mean, I feel like my teeth is gonna drop. I'm gonna lose a tooth pronouncing CAC. Where does that sit on your hierarchy of marketing lead generation strategy?
Pretty high up. Social can be incredibly powerful. It can be an incredibly powerful way of positioning, particularly an individual, as a go-to person in their space. Works particularly well with niches, works particularly well in the local area. It's a case of making sure that you pick the right channels, hang out where your target audience hang out, not necessarily where you want to hang out. Yeah? You've got to meet people where they are. You've then got to be consistent with audience building. Too many people focus just on, for example, posting. They don't try and build the audience that they've got on their social channels. They post and just expect people to come, and it doesn't work like that. So we need to pick the right channels, we need to build audiences, we need to add value to those audiences, and we need to engage with them on a regular basis. And if you do that, then firms will have success and individuals will have success. But again, you see firms giving up before they see the results, people giving up before they see the results. There's I'm sure you've come across a podcast, a guy called Alex Hormozy, and he talks a lot about the most successful business owners and successful marketers being the ones who can just continue and just plow on when they're getting nothing back. Yeah? And then you start getting little things back, you start getting a bit of traction, and then you'll never look back from there. But most people give up on social and to a degree on marketing before they start seeing those small signs of engagement.
And when you say building an audience, what does that involve? What does that entail?
So if you are looking at, say, LinkedIn, for example, that would be down to the number of followers that you have. It's possibly as simple as that, the number of connections and followers. Actually, probably a better metric is the relevant connections and followers. Just the number of followers is probably a fairly vain metric, but the number of relevant connections and followers. And the same would be true on other social accounts. So on YouTube, number of subscribers to your channel, that sort of stuff. And there is a direct correlation between, I think, success and size of audience. But building an audience is hard, maintaining the audience is hard. It takes work.
Yeah, finding a niche, as you say, or defining a niche, building a profile around it, content. If you are going to be, serving and giving value to this audience, it's often through, content creation, and it's a lot of work. I should know.
Yeah, it is a lot of work. And back to your point about AI, you've got to enjoy it. Yeah. You're not going to do something consistently if you don't enjoy it. You're not going to hang around on LinkedIn or Facebook or TikTok or whatever unless you actually enjoy it. So for me, if you're going to get success out of socials, it's got to be something that you look forward to doing. Otherwise, you're going to give up even sooner.
Yeah, and it goes back to the point you're making earlier on, which is about, you talked about aligning the marketing strategy to what the firm wants to accomplish, but also aligning it to the kind of people or personalities that they might have in the business. Okay, so sorry, I want to try and wrap this up. Is there role these days for offline, what I would call offline marketing? By that, I'm thinking about events, networking, and that could be, client appreciation or client education event. Do you get involved in that part of aspects of marketing? Where does that sit in your thinking?
Yeah, we do. We have a growing number of firms. Clearly, things took a hit 4 or 5 years ago. But we have a growing number of firms wanting to go back and do more face-to-face stuff. And for me, it's not binary, online or offline.
Right.
The offline world soon translates to the online world. So networking event, an introduction might take place, but the person who is introduced to the planner also is asking other people who to use. Then they head online. Professional connections. A professional connection might recommend a couple of different financial advisors. So the recommendation takes place offline, becomes online. When the prospect is searching and looking the advisors up that they've been recommended to. So I absolutely think offline has, it's maybe not been as trendy, as fashionable, as sexy over the recent years, and everybody's focused on SEO, search, AI, social, etc. But it absolutely has a part to play, but it's not binary. The two things are dovetailed.
Okay. What do you think I should have asked you that I haven't asked you?
That's a good question. That's a really good question. What should you have asked me that you've not asked me? I would suggest that's about, you've covered a lot of stuff. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to get something in there that you should have asked me. Websites. We've not talked about websites so much. So maybe questions around websites and the importance of websites in a firm's marketing strategy.
Do firms need a website these days? I heard.
No firms need websites. You absolutely don't need a website. Websites are incredibly important. They are.
Give me 5 things that your website must absolutely have or not have. Your choice.
Perfect. So absolutely have. Let's do a positive.
Yes,
yeah?
please.
Absolutely have. Right, empathy.
Huh.
When somebody hits your website, they need to feel that you get them, that you empathize with their problem, that they've come home. Yeah, they've found their home, they've found the person they've been looking for. So empathy. Second, social proof. We need to show people the value of working with you, not tell people about the value of working with you. And that social proof needs to be scattered around the site, not just contained on one page. So empathy, social proof. Real people. I'm going to split that down into 2, so that gets me from 3 and 4. And real people are the people involved in the business. So if you read Donald Miller's brand, Building a Story brand, he talks about heroes and guides. And we need to showcase both heroes and guides on websites. Heroes being clients, we can showcase those through client testimonial videos. Guides being the advisors, planners and their support team. And we need to showcase those on the homepage, real people, not stock images of happy linen-clad people.
On the beach.
Why is it always on the beach? Why is it always on the beach? And I'm sure we're guilty of this in the past with some, but why is it always on the beach? So we have empathy, we have social proof, we have clients, we have team, calls to action. 2 calls to action. Only about 3% of people are in market at any one time. So we need 2 calls to action. One that's an immediate call to action, book a meeting, get in touch, that sort of stuff. Then a more transitional call to action, stay in touch with us by downloading this guide, completing a scorecard, signing up to a newsletter. So there you go. There's 5 things firms' sites should absolutely have.
What should they absolutely not have?
Stock images of people on beaches. Stock images of people on beaches. For me, pages that talk about, we do pensions, we do savings, it's just dull. It's really dull. Yeah. People come at different stages of life. We need to focus on the triggers that people have when they hit websites, not products. Yeah. people before products, as plenty of people in our profession have said. So there's two things that they certainly shouldn't have. They certainly should not have blog pages that were last updated in the year 2020, something like that.
Unless you're dead. But okay.
Your probably website will come down in that experience. But yeah, so there's a few things that sites shouldn't have, but we tend to focus on what they should, and those 5 are a really good place to start. And most firms, and we've done the research, do not have those 5.
It has been an absolute masterclass, Phil, listening to you share just loads of wisdom and ideas. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for all you do. It's been wonderful having you on the show.
Thank you for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
That's a wrap on today's show. Massive thanks to my production crew, especially Jake Osha, Melissa Canham, and the entire team. And of course, to our sponsor, Timeline, the market-leading provider of integrated planning technology and model portfolio service to advisors. I do hope you've enjoyed today's show. Head over to Apple Podcast and give us your review there. Until next time, goodbye.